What's up, everybody? Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Mario. Hello, Andrew. How are you?
Well, we have, as everyone can see, we have a special guest with us tonight, all the way from the UK. Mario Inneco 64 is joining us, and good to have you here, buddy. I appreciate you joining. And Kevin, it's always nice to see you. I don't have anyone that I can poke in the ribs now. I probably shouldn't do that to Mario.
Mario, be careful. Andy likes to take his elbow and fall off the table a little bit, so just be careful he doesn't hit you. Let's get some housekeeping out of the way. We have to first apologize for the winners of the raffle that we did prior to the new year. Jana has been just beyond overworked by Andy and overwhelmed by Andy and has not been able to get everything out yet. She is on it. She's on top of it. She will get it done very shortly, but she wanted to just extend her apologies and let everyone know, the winners, that it will be taken care of, as well as the swag that
yes, it will
have won. So
yes, it will. It's been busy.
Giving Jana a little bit of a break. You overwork her quite a bit, and while you relax.
Do I really relax, Kevin?
I don't know.
You're lucky you're not here right now.
That's what would you do?
So what do we want to talk about today? How about you, Mario? What do you want to talk about today?
Well, we went for dinner and we were talking about the Secretary of the Treasury designate, Besant.
Yep.
And he did an interview like a week before the election, and he didn't know he was going to be picked. And he said that he thinks we're on the cusp of a Bretton Woods-like realignment, which to me sounded like gold was going to be a big part of this, because gold is always involved in monetary realignment. So I think that's pretty important. And I think, Andy, you were mentioning something about also JP Morgan. So you could...
Yeah. So one of the things that really stood out to me recently was, so it's always been, I don't even want to call it a mystery. I would just call it part of the, I guess you could say, evidence of manipulation, where JP Morgan, who paid the largest fine that the Justice Department has ever levied at the time, of $920 million for manipulating the market, would still be allowed to be the custodian of the largest silver trust in the world, which they are. The year that they paid that fine of $920 million, their trading desk made $1 billion. So they walk away up $80 million, pay a fine, and that's it. And it was always HSBC Bank, British bank, that controlled GLD. Now let's remember that BlackRock has got their fingers in all of these pies too, including partial custodianship with JP Morgan. But one of the interesting things that, if we talk about the possibility of gold revaluation, which I think is becoming more and more probable, as crazy as that sounds, I really do. We keep hearing people talk about it, from the head of the Dutch National Bank to Cynthia Lummis, the senator from Wyoming. It makes sense. It would benefit all the central banks. It would help square away these horrible balance sheets. One of the things that I find very interesting is that JP Morgan has taken over custodianship of GLD from HSBC Bank and moved basically all of the gold into JP Morgan vaults. And they basically hold more gold than the majority of all the G20 countries in their vaults. If they were going to revalue gold, and I asked Judy Shelton this, and although she didn't come out and say absolutely, she more or less, to me, intimated that they would. And there are others that I've talked to who said they will let it rise gradually, but they want it to happen. James Rickards is saying $27,000 an ounce gold. If you take the debt and divide it by or the gold, and divide it by M1, 27,000. Any way you look at it, to me, it makes sense. Now, I've always said for a very long time, are you okay to join us now, Kevin? Is that okay? Did we interrupt you for anything?
I just didn't want you to hear the puppies barking. That's all. I was trying to be polite.
Just want to make sure that we didn't.
Listen, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your.
No, that's okay.
You're
Would
okay.
you really expect me to miss an opportunity like that?
You miss every opportunity you don't take.
I guess that's right. You seem a little down today, Kevin. Are you okay?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I got my vest on.
Well, of course, you have a vest on. I mean, it's very vesty. Anyways, if they were going to confiscate gold, I've said for years that they would be better off confiscating the ETFs that are held by the commercial banks that manipulate the price, that attract all the big money. And it would allow them to have their cake and eat it too. If you look at the prospectus, what did we say today, Mario? It's like 10,000 ounces of gold that you have. That's the minimum that you can take possession of. It's called a basket.
You have to be a huge hedge fund or institution.
And when things get tight, they have in the past eliminated the ability to distribute. But you have the nefarious bank, who is an agent of the Federal Reserve, who paid the largest fine ever for manipulating the metals market, who was still allowed to be the custodian of the largest silver trust in the world, and now has taken custody of GLD, one of the largest stockpiles of gold in the world. So if they wanted to do something like that, instead of confiscating gold, which would be the death knell for the dollar, the land of the free, the home of the brave, the center of free trade in the universe, confiscates gold when communist China promotes it, when Russia removes the VAT tax for their citizens and promotes it, when much of the free world allows it. You can't do that. But instead of going door to door to people's homes who have NRA stickers on the front door, they could just conveniently, without breaking any laws or infringing any civil liberties, confiscate the gold held within GLD and SLV, who now is firmly in the control and in the vaults of JP Morgan, backed by BlackRock, the deep state, and look the world in the face and say, what? We didn't do anything. We didn't break any laws. We didn't infringe any civil liberties. It would allow them to do this on a Sunday night and allow people to continue to hold gold physically free and clear in the United States. I don't know, man. It just seems to me that this is part of what they're thinking. And then you add the Treasury Secretary, whose largest holding is gold, and you add Judy Shelton's idea of issuing 50-year treasuries pegged to gold, who she does believe it will be issued on July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary. It just makes sense. Everyone talks about using Bitcoin to back a strategic fund that would then help pay down the debt. Okay, that's fine. But at the same time, the call for it from Senator Loomis was to finance this by revaluing the gold. We continue to hear it. And I have a hard time believing that they would get much pushback from the central banks, who have been accumulating hand over fist. The one thing that we would do by doing that, aside from adding a lot of inflation to the dollar or devaluing it tremendously the way Roosevelt did in 1933, would be to perhaps give a leg up to the BRICS nations, who have been massively accumulating it and doing everything they can to not be detected. And we've seen that in the import-export numbers, not only in China, but also Saudi Arabia. And many of these countries are using proxy banks, commercial banks, or hedge funds or sovereign wealth funds to buy on behalf of the central bank. So it's not reported to the IMF, just like if the People's Liberation Army does it on behalf of the government. It's not reported, only if it's the PBOC in China. So I guess all I'm saying is that I think it's a more a possibility than any time in my career. And I don't know, what do you guys think?
Well, I think that, one of the things that we talked about today was the ongoing volatility. And I think that we've seen it certainly since the election. And I think that the biggest is the unknown on the tariffs. And until president takes office and we actually see what's what, I think that we're going to continue to see the volatility. But, when we think about it, or if we look at it, we say that, if Trump slaps a tariff of, 10% on metals coming into the US, that's going to have a big impact. That's going to have a big impact. I mean, you're talking about 10% on silver is going to be $3. And I think that's going to have a very big, outcome on how metals trade. And I think until we really see what it is, there's going to be the volatility. There's going to be, the COMEX, which takes advantage of it. And Mario, we were talking about it earlier today, with some of the speculation that's out there. So, I mean, look, I think that, Andy, we talked about it for a few weeks already when we were talking about the spreads between London and New York. And
they're blown out again just recently.
Yeah. And that they're draining, they continue to drain off the London, cover in New York. And I mean, look, you're there, Mario, so you certainly know. Maybe you can shed some insight there.
I see here that David Jensen, who I've had on, he's noticing that the spread between the spot price and the March silver futures contract is going up like 44.6%. It went up on the 9th of January. So that's that correlates to or corresponds to people being concerned that there might be a 10% tariff on silver or even gold. So they're
rushing to cover in New York by bringing the physical in.
Yeah, and they would also try to bring it in from London, because London has a big stockpile, supposedly a big stockpile of silver, even though David Johnson's spoken about how SLV doesn't really have all the silver they say they do, because they short, when clients come and buy silver, they go short the ETF. That's what the guy from Goldman Sachs said. Do you remember?
Yeah, he's that's
Jeff
Curry.
Yeah, and it's like if someone buys silver or gold from you, you're not going to go and short it because you've done the trade.
Right. So we hedge our inventory. We short our inventory.
Yeah.
So if I have 1 million ounces of silver in the warehouse, which we will have on any given day, we will short 1 million ounces on paper so that we are market neutral. Right.
Yeah, but when someone buys it from you, you don't need to.
Of course, that's when you unwind the short.
Yeah.
If you deliver the metal into the trust, there's no reason to short the price. What he did was he stepped on his own, because he admitted that in essence they were taking that metal, double counting it, shorting it into the market, and suppressing the paper price. And that's what you can do with an instrument where you really can't ever take possession of it. David Jensen has also said a lot of things, and I would suggest that people should follow David, because he's the one who talks about the fact that they say they trade 290 million ounces of silver per day, which, okay, fine. They only have really 300 million ounces that are available. There's 800 million ounces there. 500 belong to the ETFs. That leaves 300. They trade that every day, but he also says that those numbers are 10 times understated, that they only post the final settlement numbers, which would mean they're trading 2.9 billion ounces a day, which is 3.5 times annual global mine supply per day, of which he would say that it is 90+% paper. And this is how the whole game blows up. The deliveries, whether they are coming off of COMEX, or towards COMEX rather, to cover these short positions, these exchange for physical trades, or it's India, or it's China, or in December, 45 million ounces were delivered off of COMEX in the month of December. So this is one of these deals. This is why I've always talked about little by little and then all at once, logarithmic decay. You can see the little by little. And what is different this time is the awareness and the motivation of the countries that are standing for delivery, that are using the Western Fugazi price to stand for delivery. And one of the things that I don't know, maybe I heard you say this, someone said this not too long ago, that they're really trying hard to take delivery off of the exchanges in Brazil, in Dubai, in Shanghai, because these are the countries that have exchanges that offer delivery but do not set the price. The price is set really in New York and in London. And the fact that they're delivering them off of these exchanges all around the world using the suppression, it's one of these deals where it just like that, if there's a delivery failure because of the hubris of these commercial banks to short the price, into an environment where it should be the opposite of that, and the world has gotten wise to it, this is how it blows up very quickly. And you said something interesting on the way home tonight, that it's been beaten up and suppressed for so long that when it finally goes, so few people will have hung on to it. But that's the way that this game would work. That's the way that I would see it, is that they would have shaken so many people off of the tree. Either you get it and have a strong grip, or you don't. And you bought it for the wrong reason. You wanted to get rich. Someone talked you into it, or whatever it is, and you sold. That is the environment. And it's interesting too, when you look at when the COMEX was founded in 1974, I believe, there's all sorts of articles about it, and the people that talk about it or built it back then or allowed the public to buy basically said, when Gerald Ford said gold is now legal again, you can buy it. They talked, it was the same day or the day after that the COMEX was established. And there's all sorts of, and I don't know if I read this in the Freedom of Information Act that talked about all of this, but they said, look, what we'll do with COMEX is we'll inject a tremendous amount of volatility into the market, and that will keep the average investor from buying it. This volatility that Kevin has spoken about is part and parcel with their attempt to make everyone look at everything else. And yet the rest of the world, the sophisticated traders, whoever is draining 45 million ounces off of COMEX in December, these people understand it. They're using it against us, and it is happening in real time. As difficult as it is to hear guys like myself and Mario and Kevin and all sorts of other people talk about this, that it continues to happen, it's happening. And, you know, the little boy who cried wolf, you know, you open up the last page and there's me, Kevin, and Mario having a cocktail. The wolf comes on the last page, don't forget. And I just think people need to realize that things are accelerating largely because of deliveries off the exchanges.
You know, you mentioned David Jensen, and I remember I think it was 2 days ago, or it might have been yesterday, maybe today, I don't even know. I read something by him, and it first thing that I read, it just hit me, and it's a quote from U.S. President Herbert Hoover, and it basically it couldn't be as clear as day. We have gold because we cannot trust governments.
Right.
That's what he said. And I mean, look at it. Look at what we've gone through, and we trusted the government, and that was, again, off the gold standard. We're off, and this is what it's come to. I mean, you know, it's like the dog off a leash. You know, you let it go, and it just starts doing anything it wants, and that's what we've seen, and that's the predicament that we're in.
Just wanted to add a little bit about silver. Like you said, if you're not in it when it happens, you won't participate. And a lot of people think that in the 70s, silver was going up all the time, but it wasn't. It did quite well, like gold, up until the 1975. And then gold corrected like by 50% from like almost 200 to 100. Silver was like going nowhere for like 4 years, and it was only towards end of 78, beginning of 79 that it broke like $7, and then just made that massive run
all at
to
once
50.
moment.
Yeah, all at once moment. And I bet a lot of people who were frustrated in the mid 70s to like late 70s with silver, and they probably got out and they missed the biggest move ever in silver. And I think we're going to see that again. I can't tell you if it's going to be next week or in 2 months' time, but I think we're a lot closer.
One of the things that I think I can't escape the feeling that there are things in store for President Trump, and I'm not saying that the wildfires in California, which are just awful. And in fact, Megan, my assistant, her family lost their home in Palisades, and it's really awful. And I wonder how many more of these surprises we will continue to see. 150 billion in damage so far. It's the costliest natural disaster ever in this country. The insurance companies are in trouble, in big trouble, and you know, they're already on the hook for north of $20 billion. balance or their stock prices are getting hammered, like absolutely clobbered. And even California Edison, the power company, lost $1 billion in market cap overnight as the downed wires are sparking more fires. And who's going to pay for this stuff? The program in California, it's called, what is it called? It's called FAIR, I think. Yeah, Reliance on the FAIR plan in California. These are all the people who couldn't get insurance. State Farm canceled like 1,600 policies, didn't renew them in July. They could see this coming. Half of the people there only have 50, 60% insurance for fire. It's like living down here in Florida. It's getting very difficult to get insurance because of hurricanes. And these people are in big trouble. I mean, huge trouble. And the insurance companies are in huge trouble. And is this maybe one of the sparks that, and no pun intended, actually, it's probably a poor choice of words, that blows up, the banks or the insurance companies? Is it what starts this cascade of
or it could be the little snowflake that gets the avalanche.
Yeah,
going.
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
1,600 policies were dropped by State Farm in July. And to give you an idea, there were 28 climate disasters. That's what they call it, whether it be hurricane, flood, whatever. In 2023, caused $93 billion for the entire year. This is already over $150 billion. And these insurance companies are in very, very big trouble. And I think that the whole system is over leveraged and undercapitalized. You have 7 stocks holding up the equity market, and you have a massive problem with now a huge subsection of all the West Coast insurance companies. This isn't going to end well, and I wonder what the next disaster will be. But if any of you live in California or live in Florida, you know just how hard it is to get insurance and how costly it is. And actually, just an interesting tidbit, I moved into this house 4 years ago, and I tried to get insurance through Chubb, which I had in Minneapolis. Perfect record of no claims, and they come back and say, no, we won't insure you because there have been 2 claims on your house. And I said, well, wait a minute. I just bought the damn thing. I don't know what other people did before. Well, now actually they say the history of the home follows you. So because someone lived here before me had a lightning claim and also a water claim that was fixed, they wouldn't insure me. This is how hard it is getting. And we haven't heard the end of this. The California plan, where you have all these people pooled because they couldn't get insurance. The commissioner of that went in front of the state legislature a year ago and said, we are way underfunded and very exposed. One big disaster and we're in trouble. Well, welcome to the one big disaster. And you look at the way that these liberal politicians didn't protect their constituents. This Gavin Newsom is just a full-on putz. And the water coming from Canada, they put out into the Pacific Ocean to protect the fish. The aquifers that were empty, the fire hydrants, 1 out of 3 that were empty, the LGBTQ fire department that was more concerned about hiring gender rather than merit. This whole bizarro world that we lived in, you could basically say resides in California. And this is what happens when you let wokeism take over for reality. And again, I always tell people I grew up in a house where my parents were hippies, and I get everything about other lifestyles. I don't care what you do, what drugs you do, who you sleep with. I don't care, right? I mean, I've seen it my whole life. But when we celebrate things and we embrace a world that is based on lifestyle over merit, this is the shit that happens instead of common sense and thinking about the constituents. I don't mean to go on a rant, but what we just saw is deplorable. And guys like Gavin Newsom, well, they ought to it's treason as far as I'm concerned. These people ought to be brought up on charges. And this is a guy that's thrown his hat in for the next 2028 election. Are you okay there, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Blue Water Stacks just made a comment. I think it was 1907 Blue Water Stacks, but anyway, it says 1909 San Francisco earthquake almost bankrupted.
We talked about that today.
Yeah, and it did lead to the creation of the Fed because J.P. Morgan had to bail out the whole of Wall Street, and they were concerned. We can't keep doing this. We need the taxpayer to do it for us, and that's what the central bank is all about. So the banks can privatize the profits and socialize the losses. And what do you think could be if this 2025 wildfire event leads to something like that? Maybe is it their excuse to bring in CBDCs? It could be. Hopefully, they won't succeed.
Yeah, the question is, if they bring in a CBDC, do they bring it in backed by constitutional money like gold, like we were talking about, or do they bring it in more along the lines of the fiat CBDC that the World Bank and the BIS and all of these folks want? That's the question, and that's why I've said, and I try and say it with respect. I mean, we're at Trump playing golf today at Trump International, and he was there today, and here he is right here, and I voted for Trump, and I did, but I wonder, it makes you think. You have to think. You have to challenge everything that you see in front of you after the last 4 years. If you don't, you learn nothing. And no matter how much we want Trump to be the white hat, I think, could he be the Trojan horse, or is he riding on the Trojan horse? And I say that with all due respect. I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
But he did say he's against CBDC. Maybe they could bring in a digital currency backed by gold.
Well, that's that. Then he's the white hat, and that would be great.
And we have to then question. So, Andy, I brought this up to you the other day. As based on the current money supply, though, if we're backed by gold, the amount that gold, I think it was, I don't remember who was talking about it, but the amount gold would have to trade at to back a CBDC would be around 80,000 an ounce.
Well, at 140,000, the debt is completely wiped off in terms of balance sheet. When I
use the same formula that we used to use when we did back the dollar by gold, then with our current money supply, it would have to be roughly around $80,000 an ounce right now.
Every 4,000, and if we did that at $80,000 an ounce, that would add. What would that be? That would be every 4. So 4 into 80 is 20. So that would add $20 trillion to the free and clear to the Treasury.
Yeah,
free and clear. And just to make this conspiracy reality, Trump would all he would need to do is to tell Scott Bessent, the new Treasury Secretary, to tell Jerome Powell to revalue the price of gold. No congressional approval needed for that. And all of a sudden, you just gave the Treasury $20 trillion to do what they need to do to pay down their debt. And to get
things a lot different now for the United States then. And again, we don't really know what we do have in gold.
No, and that's one of the things I asked Judy Shelton, and I said, why, Judy, this is just stupid already. Like, why won't we audit the gold? Well, she said the argument is always it's too costly in logistics. And then she said, but you know what? That's a bunch of crap. She said, all we would need to do is spend a few $1 million where the United States, for God's sakes, let's just audit the damn stuff and gain. It's the first step in gaining trust. And
you can send billions to you.
Yeah, it's so crazy to me. You have all these agencies these federal agencies that do absolutely nothing, that we're just spending gazillions of dollars on, but yet auditing our gold holdings is too much of an expense. Right?
No, and they did. They just gave another like $500 million to the Ukraine on the way out the door, and it's been the worst 2 months to the start of the Treasury in the history of the country in terms of indebtedness. I think they took in like 600 million in tax revenue and spent 1.2 or 3 or 4 million in 2 months. And it took till 2009 to get that kind of indebtedness for a whole year. We're doing it in 2 months, and they're making things difficult on him. All of the executive orders that they're signing, and it's crazy. You know, we have 500 million to give to this god awful war in the Ukraine. That's just a bunch of crap. But yet we let people in California, in Palestine, Ohio, in North Carolina, and in Lahaina suffer. And it's just unconscionable. And then you look at the moves that Gavin Newsom is making, more of the same crap. These people are just really, really awful. And I don't know. I hope, I really, truly, truly hope that that there is a draining of this putrid swamp who have done more to embarrass our country than anything I've ever lived through, or at least since I've been old enough to understand it.
Alan asked me a question. He wants to know if it's, I have a vest on. I look very cold. Do I have heat in my house? I'm married to a woman. I don't know what's going on with her, but she likes to keep the house at about 65 degrees. So no matter where I am, it's always just bitter cold.
Kevin, that's just a bunch of crap. You just feel better in a vest. It's so
the vest.
It's like a, it's like a whoopee.
Coming from the guy wearing a full like cashmere sweater in your office, which I know is quite warm.
It's not warm. It's the lights that make it
You
warm.
have the fan going right above you?
I do.
Hear them.
Yeah. Do you miss it? Do you feel left out without being here with Mario and I? I think you do. I think you feel left out.
I'm coming. Whoop, wrong way. Whoop, sorry.
You could be here in less than 2 minutes. Why don't you just come and say hi?
I do live.
Take the golf cart and come
about
visit.
4 minutes, maybe.
Huh?
Maybe about 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes to get there.
He's vested in the show. I like that.
I'm vested in the show.
Yeah.
I have a vested interest.
How many vests do you actually own?
I have quite a number.
I believe that.
I have quite a number.
Hopefully vests don't ever go.
I don't have as many vests as you have putters, though.
I only have one. I sold them.
No. You only use one right now.
I sold them.
You didn't sell them.
I did. There was a trade-in day. I traded them in.
Right. And the one that you have now, you must have traded all of them in for that one.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Can we get to some questions from our viewers, please?
Yeah.
No, I want to talk.
Let's talk. Clearly.
Right, where are the stars? Put some up there, woman.
Okay, here's one.
Do you think banks are heavily buying crypto now to offset the naked silver shorts? No, I don't. I think that to me, the mystery with crypto is the role of the stable coins and the treasury market. I think that's why they're okay with it, because you look at all the stable coins, they're 85 to 90% US treasuries, the rest predominantly US cash. And that's supporting the legacy system as other countries are shedding it in favor of commodities. It's the ironic part of all of it is people think they're leaving the legacy system, they're supporting it. And I don't think that's why they're doing it, to be honest, at all. And I don't know if the banks are heavily buying crypto or not. I can't say that I know that definitively. But what I do find interesting is that all we hear about is the investor buying crypto, but what are all the central banks doing? They're buying gold. In fact, in the last 2 months of the year, the central banks doubled their 12-month moving average in accumulation. And between accumulation and repatriation and taking physical possession, removing any of the counterparty risk that, guys like Big Swear said, if you don't hold it, you don't own it for years. Well, you're seeing that at the highest level. And that to me, I think is the one interesting thing. And, the stuff that Mario and Kevin and I talk about central banks buying gold, 1 out of a gazillion people in this country know of. All of you know about it, but none of your friends or family have any inkling. All they hear is Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. They don't hear Yeah, but the most knowledgeable people on the planet who know the playbook, who've written the playbook, who all hang out at the same parties, they're all buying gold and bringing it home. So I don't know. What does that mean? Could it be a rug pull? You know, we talk about rug pulls. And again, I'm not a crypto basher at all, right? Not. When you think about rug pulls in the deep state, think where everyone's money is. It's in 7 stocks, it's in Bitcoin, and it's in money markets, record money markets, 7 trillion plus in money markets. And you bring down one big bank, you can bring down the entire system just like that. Then you reset, then you come in and issue your new system. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just simply saying that it's a precarious position where there is very little diversity in large pools of assets right now, that if there were some nefarious act on the horizon, it wouldn't be so hard to really upset the apple cart. What do you think about that, Mario?
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I think in the US, it's less than 1% that's held in the gold sector. It's like 0.6, 0.8%. So there's a lot of room, even if if the stock market, NASDAQ, the Magnificent Seven, start correcting sharply, even if they move a small amount into gold, silver, and also the miners, which are even more undervalued. They're undervalued versus gold and the S&P. You could see the precious metal sector, explode. And I think Michael Oliver has been talking about that.
I have him on my show tomorrow.
Yeah, so you can ask him.
I will ask him that.
Yeah.
You talk about the central bank buying, but I think that's the key. I mean, the numbers that came in from November, I think all the central banks added like 53 tons in November, and putting the year-end numbers at like 807 tons in central bank buying. And you know, they talk about China, that they had halted their buying, which I think we all know is a bunch of BS. I think
it was actually discovered they were lying. The import-export numbers out of the UK and Switzerland caught that. And then I remember what we've been talking a lot about, the doré and the concentrate. The rules are, if it's 999 pure and bought by the central bank, it gets reported to the IMF. Anything other than that, it's not. So commercial banks, sovereign wealth funds, or buying doré and concentrate that isn't 999 pure, none of that gets reported. But why would you want to tell the world if you knew a gold revaluation was coming? You wouldn't want to tell everyone how much you have.
No, but I mean, a lot of Poland was another. I think they were the biggest buyer in November. They added 21 tons. You had Uzbekistan added, Kazakhstan. They flipped from being a net seller to a net buyer. So there's a lot of the countries that are still buying it, like a lot. And that, regardless, I think that, when we saw last week, when the market basically cratered, and we saw the jobs report and the market came in, and we saw that the metals had actually bucked the trend. I think that was a huge telltale. The fact that, generally in a lower interest rate environment, metals will start to move higher. Now we see these yields in the dollar moving higher, metals generally goes down. So the fact that the yields are moving higher, the dollar's going higher, and the metals held their own. I mean, we're only sitting, $150 or so off of the all-time high for gold. It's nothing. It's 5%? I think that's sensational.
Well, and gold was up 30% for the year, and everyone thinks it didn't do anything. And this is the stupidity of the new investor. Richard Russell is the smartest man I ever had the privilege of meeting, and I followed him every day for 20 plus years, read everything he ever wrote voraciously. And he would say, you make 7% a year, you are a investing rock star. And the instant gratification mentality is very dangerous right now, which is like on Tuesday of last week, the NASDAQ had the single largest day ever of trading stocks that were under $1. And those are penny stocks. And that means you're talking those are speculative. Those are typically sold in frenzy manias, and the most ever. That's dangerous. This is irrational exuberance. You look at the Wilshire 5,000, the Russell 2,000. The majority of those stocks are underwater, which is a broad subsection of the economy. It's 7 stocks holding up, but at the same time, you have record insider selling. For every 1 purchase by an insider, we have 6 that are selling. You have Warren Buffett with $400 billion in cash sitting on the sidelines. This is when the smart old guys sit on the sidelines and sell as the mania, the people who are, it's funny. We were talking, who were we talking with about that, man? This morning with Jason and the guy with Paul Smith, where, the common denominator between myself and Paul Smith and Mario and Jason was that we've all put in the work. We were all older folk who put in the work, and saved and scraped and got to where we are by doing things the right way. And he was basically saying that whole ideological viewpoint of working hard to get to where you need to be. I mean, no one gave me anything, never, right? And it's gone, and it's been replaced with a gambling mentality, whether it be the proliferation of more and more casinos, online gambling, Texas Hold'em with kids in junior high, or as far as cryptocurrencies. And they are missing the vital point of producing something, being constructive, and working hard. And I don't know, I just think that this is a very dangerous time. It's a very, very dangerous time because speculation, blind speculation. And it's very dangerous.
I agree.
It's very, very dangerous because just like that, things go upside down. And those people who are blindly speculating do not have, what do they call it? Diamond hands.
Yeah.
And they'll be the first ones to dump everything in the first sign of a cataclysm. And I don't know where I'm even going with this, but just to say, I feel that we are blinded by the optimism of President Trump. And I am right there with being fully optimistic about what he will mean for this country. But I think the average investor is blinded by it when you see the speculative frenzy of buying more penny stocks in one day than in the history of the market ever.
Yeah. I mean, you can compare. I think Kevin mentioned Herbert Hoover and his comment about gold, but he was elected in 1928, and he came in 1929 in March. At that time, the inauguration was in March, and he was a really successful gold miner. He was a businessman, and a lot of people thought the same. I'm not saying Trump is like Hoover, but everyone was really optimistic about the economy, the stock market, and then 6 months later, you had the crash in 29. So just because, like you said, you're hoping that Trump will change the way people think in the country, be less woke. But I don't think he can. Yeah, if the market is going to crash or the economy is going to slow down, there's nothing he can do.
Kevin, does it piss you off that this freaking Brit knows more about American history than you and I do?
Yeah, it doesn't piss me off. I love it. But Andy, that's what we were talking about. We said it last week. Now we were talking about and said, I think that's somewhat of an irrational thought that people think, okay, Trump got elected, we're free and clear. There's no magic pill. One man, one administration in a 4-year term. I think it's very naive to think that that's going to solve all of our problems. I don't. I think it's very, very naive. And I think that you're right. I think that many, many people have exchanged speculation for work. The same way as, in California, people are, changing theft for work. Why work when I can just go in and steal and no outcome, no repercussions? It's just some things in our society, in our world right now have just gotten so out of hand and just crazy. And I think those are the things that we really need to tackle, first and foremost. I mean, it's just that mentality of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be speculators like Jesse
Always.
Moore and stuff like that. But the average person getting involved is just crazy. I think in that we've seen that in the past, like even during the French hyperinflation, the assignats, there's heavy speculation, and also in the Weimar Republic.
100%.
Mary, I think that you're right. And you're right. There is, and there always will be in any society at any time, speculators, which again, from time to time, without a doubt, I'm one to speculate. But that being said, I speculate with assets that are above and beyond anything that I would potentially need to have. I think that's been replaced. People don't necessarily speculate with additional funds. They're speculating with all of their funds, with no backup plan, with nothing in there. So if the crypto doesn't work out, if XRP doesn't work out, if Bitcoin doesn't work out, if all these altcoins and Fartcoin and Dogecoin don't work out, there's no backup plan. That's the differential. I think back in the day, you could speculate and buy a piece of property, but that property still has inherent value in it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a good point. That's why Bill Holter calls it digital air. And I guess part of it is true. Dutch libertarian, yes, you can get the Glint app in Europe. Mario has it in the UK. So yes, you just go to the App Store or the the Samsung, what is it called? Android. Yes, you can get it. And
Andy, you said before you were talking about gold, and I think that many people right now, they just, they say the same thing, and who I'm talking about. It doesn't have a yield. It doesn't pay me anything. That's the differential.
Right.
With gold.
Which is stupid because it's outperformed all of the yield-bearing assets, even with dividends reinvested, like in the S&P for 25 years. And even if you go to 2008, it's up. Gold is up. I don't know. It's up. 160 per. I don't know. It's up 1.6 times the 10-year Treasury since 2008. It's double the Treasury since 2000. And so you don't need something to pay yield in an environment where real yields are negative.
Right.
And that's the truth of it.
But most people don't understand that. You know that.
Right. I get it. Do you think it's possible for stackers to avoid tokenization of private gold holdings without penalty? I'm not exactly sure what that means. I do think there will be tokenization of holdings, and whether or not you participate in it. Texas, as an example, is proposing that, and it would allow for utility if indeed you get people in the state of Texas who are willing to take that. But I think the tokenization of everything just leads to the police state, the surveillance state. I don't know exactly what SK is saying. You have any idea with that, Kevin or Mario?
Well, I don't see why you should tokenize gold. I mean, gold is physical.
You would tokenize it because if you had $100,000 worth of gold at the Texas Bullion Depository and they passed that law, you could go to Walmart with your phone.
Okay. I
see.
Which
is like Glint. That's basically kind of in that sense.
Glint. I mean, but Glint isn't tokenized. Glint is just one for one, but you can sell it, use it with a master.
It's just like a currency, like in the prior to 1933, the gold certificates, or even not the Federal Reserve notes, but the gold certificates, the Treasury certificates. It was like, doing that. Your gold is at the Treasury, but so you could pass it on to someone else. I guess tokenization would be the same, but digital. But I think if you do have tokenization, you should be able to go to the depository or a bank and demand physical.
Right.
Because then Because if you
Well, that
can't-
is part of the deal in the
Yeah,
Texas deal.
yeah,
They
yeah,
will
yeah,
allow it.
That's good. I mean,
That's
Texas,
the only way that you could actually see people turning their gold into the vaults, because if over time, let's say over a few years, it gains such legitimacy, you could redeem your gold, you could give it to the vault and monetize it for,
yeah,
for trade or whatnot. Then people would say, well, why do I need to hold this stuff anyway? I can just give it and use it and get
Yeah.
it if I need it. So
well,
we're a long ways away
it,
from
dis-
that.
it disciplines like the authorities who hold the gold.
Jana just took something down and,
Yeah,
and
I love the surfer. I'll come back to him. I'm gonna answer this
Okay.
one. This is, and how are you, Jay, Mr. Surfer? Good to see you, brother. Even though I don't see you.
look at this question that's up on there, Andy.
What? What
Look
would
at this
happen if the
question.
U.S. had no? What?
What if the U.S. had no gold in the vaults?
Yeah, well, maybe that's why they haven't audited
been
since
audited.
1953. It would be a massive blow to the United States, because we've claimed that we've had more than anyone, for the last forever, since the end of World War II, and we've reported it on our balance sheet forever. It would just basically say that everything that we talk about financially is a lie. And if you are going to do something like back a new system with gold, you would definitely, that would be the step number one, is to have it audited. It belongs to the people anyway. It should be demanded, but whenever Ron Paul brought it up, it didn't.
What's the variance between what the United States claims it has in its gold holdings versus China?
About 6,000 ounces, but 6,000 metric tons rather. But because they say they have like 2,600 and we supposed to have 8,300, something like that. But Alistair McLeod will tell you they have over 40,000. China does, and 18,000 by the state and 22,000 by the people. The other way around: 18,000 by the people, 22,000 by the state. They have a lot more than that, probably. And
No doubt about it.
they've been mining between 300 and 500 metric tons a year for 25 years, and they've been mining gold that was uneconomical, even if it cost them more to pull it out of the ground than it was worth, because they play the long game. And that's something that people in the West don't understand. Again, instant gratification is not fast enough.
I would be willing to bet that China has more gold than the U.S. Actually,
I would put
That's what we're saying. Yeah, 100%.
my money with you, Mario, 100%.
Yeah, because a lot of the mainstream financial press, they always say, well, the U.S. is the biggest holder. China only has 2,300. But yeah, the Chinese, they're keeping it quiet. They have a lot more, I think. And do you remember when Mnuchin was Secretary of the Treasury, he went with his wife to Fort Knox, and there's a picture of him holding a gold bar or something, and he said, gold is safe. He didn't say the gold, that we have here, the gold is safe.
Right.
He said gold is safe.
Right, but he didn't do an inventory on the gold.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, he should have said the gold here is safe.
Right.
But he didn't use the, and that, I think that's really telling. Because he probably saw there was nothing there, and he couldn't say.
And the Chinese citizens they've been encouraged to buy gold, and now they're being encouraged to buy silver, because there's really not any gold left for them to be buying.
And I agree with Michael Church. Bimetallism was the best money the system that the world has ever known. I don't think there's enough silver to do that any longer. I think that is kind of the whole idea behind tokenization of gold. And it's interesting, by the way, when I interviewed Judy, she said that she would, at some point, if they issued these 50-year treasuries collared by gold, that the free market would issue stable coins backed by gold, which would then give you the utility. I just happen to think that the probability of us ever going back to a physical gold and silver world is difficult. But I do think gold will undermine or peg a new system. And I think that silver should be reclassified strategic. It should not be industrial. It is needed. It is depleting. And you can see by the draining of the exchanges that the sophisticated traders around the world understand this. And again, If 45 million ounces stand for delivery off of COMEX in December, ask yourself, who's got that kind of money to buy 45 million ounces of silver and take delivery? Now, it's not all one person, but you're seeing massive deliveries. And this is indicative of the awareness that whether we go to a bimetallism world or just the realization that gold and silver are true money, it's happening.
Can I put something up?
Yeah.
Mary has had some videos lately regarding the great taking. Can you comment a bit on that? Well, I did one, I think, in 2023 in September, and it was Doug Casey who first brought it up. He did it with Matthew Smith talking about it, and then I read the book right afterwards, and I made a video about the great taking, and I've done a few more thereafter. Yes, the great taking. It could be what Andy was talking about in the ETFs. They could take the gold from the ETF or the silver, and
It is a security.
yeah, and I think there was it when I think it was when SVB, or it could have been, I think it was in 08. There was a collapse of an institution, and JP Morgan, they were given the assets of the clients.
That was Bear Stearns.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, yes. I don't know if it was Bear, but the JP Morgan example that you're talking about, that's what stood the court case. So that's what gave precedence to what David Rogers was saying, that it's already met precedence.
And the great taking is something they've been preparing for it since the 70s by taking away the physical paper stock certificates and putting it all in the DTCC, and it's all digital. So I mean, it's something that's possible. He sees it like if there's going to be a great deflationary collapse, this great taking would be used to collateralize the banks again in the financial.
By the way, I think it's definitely a recommended reading or listening. You could do the audiobook online too. It's quite scary. You know, thinking about it as you're reading it, quite eye-opening and you know, definitely makes you think quite a bit.
Sorry, that's why. So you have to have a little bit or a lot of physical gold and silver, because they can't take that from you. And the other thing about the great taking, it's not just assets. Well, it is assets, of course, but it could be your house if you have a mortgage on it. So if you're going to have a hard asset, make sure it's not encumbered by debt.
Right, it's paid off. It's all no loans against it, nothing that's holding it from you actually owning it outright.
The thing of it is, most people would say, "You're out of your damn mind, Mario. What are you smoking, man?" That couldn't happen. And then
we were talking about that today. Yes.
And then you watch it, and it's all supported not only with fact but case precedent.
Yeah.
You know,
listen, Andy, it's money. Funny you said it. You know, people say can't happen until it happens. Listen, how many people would think right now that the insurance companies potentially are not going to have the money to pay out for the disasters going on in California?
Well, and then you'll see what happened with AIG when AIG had to be bailed out as a reinsurer. Well, all of these insurance companies use reinsurers. And if the damage and the destruction is so far beyond their ability to pay out, they have to go to the reinsurer. Well, if it's so systemic and there's so many of these companies that are facing the same problem, God forbid there's another problem, that's when the whole thing goes upside down. And they admitted they had to bail out AIG or it would have brought down the entire system. So, I mean, how close are we? And then you see rates going up again. Mario, what are the rates in the UK right now?
Yeah, they've been creeping up. Like the 30-year is around 5.5%. The 10-year is approaching 5%. And I was speaking about it 2 weeks ago when it was below like 4.6.
And what were the rates when the government had to come in and step in several months ago because the pension market was
Well,
blown up
that
right
was
about
in
where we're
September
at.
22. It spiked to levels that were really high at the time, but now we're above those.
Right. So that's the
when
point.
Liz Truss, their government collapsed after 40 days or so. But we've gone beyond those levels now.
Right. And so the banks in the United States, which are facing the same problem, have bet again that rates wouldn't go up because the Fed was going to come in and lower rates. And as they did lower the federal funds rate, the back end of the treasury market's gone higher, putting more and more and more and more stress, not only on the banks, but what do you think the insurance companies are loaded up with in order to guarantee their ability to
Give
pay
you
out
your returns.
U.S. treasuries? And the rates are going higher. And so that stabilizes or makes worth less the bonds in circulation on their balance sheets. It's no fun always being the guy that talks about this shit like the world's coming to an end. It's not. But we have, because of the stupidity of and the mismanagement of our monetary and fiscal house, this is the reality. So either you want to have an eye open and see what's potentially coming, or you get run over by it and blindsided. And, you know, one of these days it would be nice to just focus on things that are not black swans. But in my career, a lot of the times people would talk about black swans. I would say it's bullshit. It'll never happen. And for the first time as an adult, maybe if my wife would actually admit that I am an adult, I'd probably.
I would disagree.
I'm not, but as someone who's got gray hair, I'm very concerned about all of the things I see, and it's almost like it was contrived. When you think about Klaus Schwab, and when you think about all of the things that they talked about, you'll own nothing and be happy. Yeah, right. And you see all of the madness of our leaders, and look at what Gavin Newsom has done to California. Look at what Biden did to this country.
It's like your speech is it's too stupid to be stupid.
It's too stupid to be stupid, and we're right there.
Did you see, by the way, Mel Gibson interviewed when they were asking him about the fires in LA, and he basically was saying, you know, look, this is like too coincidental.
Of course it is.
Coincidental, right?
So my assistant Megan, she's lived there her whole life, and I'm not a guy who's an expert on fires, right? And I don't know how much wind is created with the Santa Ana winds and fires, but I asked her, is it normal to have 100-mile-an-hour winds? She said, absolutely not, ever. So it's like a lot of this stuff, you wonder, there is a fine line between conspiracy and reality.
Well, I want to, Chad, and I'm definitely not going to pronounce this correctly at all. Wolfled Steinhausen Bergdorf.
We had this once before. We tried to say
I think that was a pretty good one, though. I think I did a pretty good job right there. Wolfled Steinhausen Bergdorf. He wants to know,
we just lost
what will silver price be high and low first, second, third quarter of this year? Put the batteries in your crystal ball. Sheckman, go ahead. First quarter.
First, second, and third quarter? Is that what it was?
Fourth, yeah.
I don't know, man. I was wrong on what it would be at the end of the year. They pushed it down below that number. It's funny how they got it right down below 29 at the close. I don't know. If I had to guess, I'd say $32 at the end of the first quarter.
On the high side.
Yeah, I think it could very easily be there. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just a guess. What good does a guess do?
Nothing.
You know, I don't know. I think silver is way undervalued and should be way higher, period. And I don't know, Mario, why don't you take a guess?
Well, I think we'll be above 30. That's all I can say.
Well, we're already above 30. That's not much of a guess.
Yeah, I saw the last quote was below 30, the ticker I look at, but we're going to be above 30 at the end of the first quarter. I'm being, I guess, conservative, but like Andy said, it should be a lot higher. I think, and we've been talking about this for a few years, but I think things are getting really interesting under the surface with all this physical delivery for silver. So, yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we're going to make new all-time highs in silver this year. That's all I'll say.
All right, I like that.
Well, you know, we have the PPI coming tomorrow, and I think it's I think I thought it was a pretty good sign today that we had the futures up. Usually when we have some of this economic data, they usually hit the numbers down prior. So the fact that we actually rallied a little bit into the PPI tomorrow, I think is a bullish case. I'm going to go out on a limb and say after Q1, we're going to be over 33. Q2, I think we'll probably be a little bit higher than that, around 34 and change. But as we get into the second half of the year, I think that we touch over 40 this year. And if we get to 40, I think there's a very, very good shot we have a straight line up to 50.
Let's ask Donald. Donald, where's it going to go?
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
I was looking, Kevin, at a chart of silver on a yearly close. So, like,
yeah,
it's never closed the year above 31 in the last 50, 60 years. So I think that's why they brought silver down at the end of the year. So
I would have shown a yearly resistance that it's
I think if we get like above 35 towards 40, and it looks like silver is going to be above 31 on the year, like Andy said, it could start really motoring. So that's the key level to keep an eye on, 31. And if we go comfortably above that level on the spot, then yeah, we could see some fireworks.
Yeah. I mean, look, in the last quarter of this year, we did see the futures touch on 35. And I think the spot market was just in the 34, 70 mark. And I think that's right maybe a week or two before the election was right around that level. And I think that's kind of what threw the monkey wrench into it was the election and the uncertainty and the FUD for all the crypto enthusiasts, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt as to what that would bring. And, everything was going to be gravy again. We're going to have a lower interest rate, environment, or, everything was going to be great. But clearly, as we talked about, there's no magic pill. And I think that no matter what, I think people are going to have to start looking as we start to see, which I think we're already starting to see it in the markets, hard assets, I think are going to be what people are going to start to flock to once again.
SK, if you're buying 1 ounce gold bars, I would always get them in an assay card, or any really, even all the way up to a kilo gold bar comes with an assay card typically. But if you're buying gold bars, you might as well get them assayed. If you're buying gold coins, it's lipstick on a pig. If you're buying brand new gold eagles, whatever, the assay is irrelevant. Some people will package them in aftermarket assay cards. But if it's a gold bar like a Pam Swiss or a Valcambi or any of the Swiss bars, they're already assayed. So it is nice to have them in assay cards. Ironically, one of the only counterfeit bars I've ever seen was a 10 ounce bar in an assay card. So we can still check it through the assay card, but the average person wouldn't. So, I think that if you're buying 1 ounce gold bars, don't just buy uncarded bars for a few bucks saving. Buy the assayed. But short of that, I don't see any need for it.
And do we have a question from OC Stacker? He wants to know if you have any thoughts on Trudeau stepping down and then the effect on metals that it'll have.
I don't know. I mean, no, they've sold almost all of their gold, if not all of it. And, maybe I guess you could see, and this won't happen, but I mean, you could see them nationalize the mines and hold all of the gold in the ground for the Canadian people, which wouldn't be the dumbest thing ever. But I don't think that will happen. I don't see any immediate correlation between Justin Trudeau stepping down and the effect on precious metals, other than maybe he oversaw the selling of all of their metals, which is just another stupid decision made by a stupid politician.
Yeah, I agree with Andy on that. I don't see how Trudeau leaving will impact the gold market that much.
Yeah, that's what we've just been talking about. I do think they're going to revalue gold. We talked about that for the last half hour. you
I
want?
got an important question from
I do
Aaron.
think they're going to revalue gold.
Yeah, and that's why the
That's
central banks, Yaj, have been buying so much gold in the last 3 years because they know it's coming.
Yeah, gold reclassified tier 1. They're buying all of the gold. They're repatriating it, and now JP Morgan is the custodian of GLD, not only SLV, and moving it all into their own vaults. That would be the prime setup for them to revalue gold without confiscating it. They'd be sitting on the massive stockpiles held by JP Morgan, who is the crook that manipulates the price anyway at the behest of the Western governments. It's to me, the probability is much higher than it was before that happened.
Jake wants an update on junk silver. Jake, we are actually running a beyond sensational special this week, courtesy of Andy. Andy, when was the last time you saw junk with premiums this low?
Never.
So we are running a special in addition to a couple of things that I'll bring to your attention, but the junk special, certainly from the time I've been doing this, is the lowest it's ever been, at $1.69 over spot for dimes and quarters. When the banking crisis happened, what, a year and a half ago?
12, 13 bucks.
Junk went up to what? Premiums were about 13 bucks, 12 and a half bucks?
Yeah.
Take advantage while we still have it. Not a whole lot, I don't think that we still have, but what are the other specials that we have this week? I think, did we change? Let me just see real quick.
Tomorrow in our vault, we are buying a ridiculous amount of pre-1933 gold coins. A ridiculous amount. Thousands and thousands and thousands of them.
Are we waiting till next week?
We have to check them in first, but I would say that by next week it'll be the best special that Miles Franklin has ever put out, ever. I'm very confident of that. So keep that in mind.
So we have this week, just to kind of fill you in, we have 2014 Canadian Silver Falcons. Those come from the Wildlife Birds of Prey series. I'm not sure how many we have, but only 1 million were minted. So those are $275 over spot, which is the absolute lowest premium that we have on any sovereign minted coin as of right now. We have backdate Canadian gold maples, which I think is an insane special at 59 over spot.
That's cheaper. That's like a gold bar price. It is a really good price.
Yep. The pre-65 junk silver. And we have the UK 10th ounce backdate gold Brits at $29.99 over melt. So we definitely have some good stuff going on right now. I can't stress enough, premiums are very, very inexpensive. And unfortunately, premiums on the buybacks they're abysmal. I mean, they're
the worst I've ever seen as well. And it's very, in finance and especially in this industry, counterintuitive things like that are typically God bless you.
Sorry.
Those are all, typically precursors. It's like the contrarian. As things are being drained at the highest level, the retail side people are missing the value that is there, and it's hard when they hear people like me saying it all the time. But I've never seen anything like this in 35 years, ever.
And I can tell you that we are doing our very, very best to give as high or higher than virtually any other dealer out there on buybacks. And if you look at some of the major dealers right now, we are substantially greater. It's not something that we would love to be giving higher rates on buybacks. They're just not there, but we are definitely quite a bit higher than most of the major online dealers right now.
Do you understand what he's saying right there? Paper drawdowns will exceed 80%.
Do you think the paper drawdowns? Does that mean the closing of the paper shorts?
Maybe he's saying that they'll draw. I don't know. They'll draw down the physical. I don't know.
The drawdown? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Blue
Maybe if you're
water.
a bit clearer, I don't.
So, Dave, what other way is there to pay off 37 trillion in debt and nearly 200 trillion in unfunded liabilities? And Richard Russell always used to say that the Fed has two choices: to inflate or default, inflate or die. And so by devaluing the dollar, you make paying off the debt a whole lot easier, and your balance sheet is then offset. You're offsetting the debt on the balance sheet. So it's gotten to a point, Dave, where either they default or they inflate.
And by the way, I don't think that there is a real big difference between the two. I think one is a short term and one is a much longer term, because for the depreciation of the dollar over the course of time and the loss of purchasing power over that time, you are defaulting basically. You're doing the same thing. Yeah. So one's a short term, one's a long term. That's how I see things.
Well, and maybe that's part of the deal is, maybe in order to have a bridge to a new system, you have to peg the new system to something that doesn't have the same problems that the fiat system have. You talk about a CBDC. Kristalina Georgieva, the head of the IMF, said a CBDC not pegged to something is fiat. So you have to peg it to something. You have to revalue gold, I think, for its stability, its worldwide acceptance as money, and the central banks seem to all agree about that, including the BIS, the most powerful bank in the world. So it would devalue the dollar considerably. It would create a lot of inflation, but it's probably the most benign choice in front of us.
I think as well, if you revalue gold and you kind of put it at a certain level, like where the Fed keeps it within a band.
What were you saying tonight? At 24 to 27,000?
Yeah, well, let's say if they put it at 20,000 and then they say, we'll let it go up 1%. On the top side, if it goes up above that, we'll sell, and vice versa. The problem is that they need to make sure that the central banks, they revalue at a reasonable rate, because Winston Churchill, he was the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the 1920s, and he reinstituted the gold standard because Britain left the gold standard during World War I. But we went from having 600 million in debt to 7 billion, and he put it back at the same pre-World War I level. And what that did was it created a deflationary environment. And by 1931, they had to drop the gold standard again. So I think if they do it, they have to make sure it's the right level. And I think it's going to be very high relative to where we're now.
Yeah. I like your thinking, Mario. I do. Silver dollars all day long, especially at the premiums we see, right? Oh, Kevin, I just did this.
I just saw it. You did it.
I did the slip. Well, see, the table, sit when you're over here, the table's flat. I'm at the part where
excuses. Listen, Aaron Hicks wants to know how that putter worked today. I'm going to give Andy some kudos. I thought that as odd and as weird as this putter is that he's got, it looks like an alien's face. He putted much better today. Not nearly the way Mario did. Mario, I thought, was very impressive. Beautiful swing, beautiful game. Very impressed by it. Andy came out with some holes today that just...
I had two really bad holes on the back, but I had 2 or 3 birdies. And take those 2 holes out back to back, horseshit holes. I had a good round. I had a really good front. Course is ridiculously hard.
But you know what?
We played Trump International, and this course is insanely hard. It's the hardest course in Florida that I've played.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Kevin?
It was I played, what was it? Cyprus,
California?
No, with Glenn. Remember, I was asked.
Oh, that wasn't. I was with you. That was Calusa Pines.
That was very difficult.
Yeah.
But I think Trump today with the wind, it's a very difficult, beautiful course. President Trump was actually there today when we were there. We just missed him. We asked him to join us, but he was busy with DeSantis.
Well, it's interesting. The guy that we play with, no, I mean they're friends, and I
Yep.
said to him, I said, Eric, do you realize that the leader of the free world, the most recognizable person on the planet, knows you by first name, shakes your hand, and gives you a hug? I'm like, man, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, but it's a special place. It really is a beautiful track. It was nice. It was really a good time, and
It took a half hour to get in the gate, as they have dogs and they go through your car,
and then you have an idiot that was coming in the exit.
I thought that guy might get shot by
Yeah.
Secret Service.
They actually said they couldn't do anything about it because he did it outside the property.
Right, exactly.
Everyone
10 more feet, they could have shot him, but because it's
Yeah.
outside, they got nothing to do with it. But it was very good. It was very good.
It was fun.
All right, what are we at? We're at about an hour 20 running.
Alan, I'm not going to the Bitcoin conference. I'm going to try to go to the XRP conference. I got to get back to them. They asked me to come back. I don't even know when the Bitcoin conference is. But I will be having Natalie Burnell on my show real soon, who's a Bitcoin enthusiast. And I will see her and Mark Moss, who are two of the Bitcoin champs in Vancouver this week. I'll shout out to Jay Martin and the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. I love it up there. I go skiing in Whistler after the conference for a few days. I just hate flying from Southern Florida to Vancouver. It's a whole day drag, but it's one of the best conferences, period, of the year. It's one of the only two that I really will not miss. So a lot of great people there. And if you can go online, check it out. I think there is remote viewing, but if you're anywhere near the Vancouver area, go. Come on up. Let's have a beer.
Keep your eyes and ears open with Miles Franklin. We are going to be making some, I think, pretty important announcements on some new stuff coming relatively soon.
Whoever he is in his vest. His name is Tattoo. His name is Tattoo.
There's a question there for me about Trump.
Yes. They want to know if you are... What your thoughts on Trump riding in the Trojan horse or on the Trojan horse?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I told Andy today that I was following the 2016 campaign, and I could tell he was very popular, and he was had huge crowds at the rallies, like 25, 30,000 people, and everything he said made sense. So I bet on him, and like in London, and I won like £1,000 betting on him to win. And I mean, he didn't lock Hillary up. There's all the talk, lock her up and stuff, but
should have.
Yeah, maybe he should have. And I still think I think the verdict is. Still
watch the video I did. Watch the video I did with Francis Hunt.
Yeah, but I think he's like Andy was saying today. He's a really nice person with people. I haven't met him, but I've seen him like meeting people, and he's very unlike Keir Starmer, who has no like sense of social sense of when he meets people. Donald Trump is different, but we'll see, because I think maybe in his first term, the deep state was still really powerful, and he had to go along. But like Andy said, we'll hope for the best.
Watch the video I did with Francis Hunt. He basically said Trump was selected, not elected.
Okay.
That they let the majority of the shit happen over the last 4 years purposely to create a rally, try to bring him in. They put up a lame duck challenger so he would win and bring it in to regain our culture back, to usher in the surveillance state, to bring in the digital ID 2020. And he already said he's going to do that for election integrity. He just said it. Look at who's got the patents on the digital ID 2020 and what they talk about in those patents. It's Bill Gates. It's that I always forget the name of the big vaccine company. It's a 3 or 4 letter acronym.
Eli Lilly?
No, it starts with a C. I think I forgot. there's a big vaccine corporation and the Rockefellers, and they want to commingle your passport with your digital ID, with your bank account information, with your health records. And he was basically saying that Trump was brought in and his cabinet to make everyone feel comfortable with digital assets and a digital ID, and that he is the horse, not riding on the horse. And I was kind of bummed out to hear that. And since he said that, I've kind of looked at it a little bit differently. I think you have to question everything nowadays, you guys. That's just the bottom line. I mean, we've been lied to so much by the current administration. It's all been lies. In fact, it's funny, there was a hat that Trump today said, it was like Trump was right about everything.
Trump was right about everything.
I don't know if he's the horse or riding on it, but either he's a damn good salesman and he is the horse, or he is true to his word and he's going to do all he can to dismantle the system. I guess only time to do.
I guess we'll find out 4 years from now.
Yeah, or probably a lot sooner than that. I think we got time for a couple more.
Are you talking about mRNA? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
No.
Oh, it's
Not Moderna.
I'll tell you right now. Hang on.
What's that?
Is that SEVI?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah, I remember. I think Bill Gates funds that.
Yeah.
Siri?
No, that's your phone.
Vaccine institution.
It is
Gila?
what?
Gila?
No, close. Come on, someone's got to get it for me.
Oh, CEPI.
No,
CEPI.
no. Say it, I'll know it. Here
It's
it is.
a company.
Here it is. Bill Gates filed for a patent. I just got to look at my notes when I interviewed Naomi Prince. I'll tell you right now. Hold on, because she's the one who brought it to my attention. Come on. I probably have it right here. Hold on.
Gabby?
Gavi, that's it.
Oh yeah, Gavi.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Yeah, Gavi, Rockefeller, and Bill Gates all have this patents on ID 2020, and they're the big vaccine company. So it's is he the Trojan horse or is he riding on it? I don't know. And then you look at all of the other things Gates has these patents on. It's like a cashless society. There's a name of it, another name. It's called, I'll tell you right now, if I can find it. Let's find Nomi. Where's Nomi? I think that's it. Of course, that's not it. There's another, I don't want to waste time, but there's another organization. It's like the Organization for Cashless Society. There's a million big companies that are all tied into it, including Visa. And that's why Visa did the reverse ATMs at the last two Super Bowls. And in Tampa and in Las Vegas, where it's cashless, you go in and they have a patent on cash destruction, where the money that you put into the ATM is destroyed and you get back a credit card, in essence, that is pre-funded, but they denote the patent, the software, the technology scans the serial number on the bills, destroys them, and then the money goes into the digital sphere instead of being cash. And it's a actual cash destroying patent that they have. They're moving away from cash, period. Whether or not people want to accept that, if you take the GDP of the world, the countries that make up 99% of it all have a CBDC in development or in operation or done. And it's coming. And, maybe Trump pushes back against it. I don't know, but my guess is it's coming.
All right, let's take a couple more, and then I think we call it a night. It's been a long day.
Yeah, it has, but It's even later for Mario. Right now, it's 3 in the morning. Where are you?
Now it's 3:30 in the morning, right?
2:30.
Oh, yes, it's a good time.
Yeah. Kevin, you almost felt it. Goldbacks are king. Yaj, I just had lunch with the owner of Goldbacks yesterday, and I think it's safe to say that Miles Franklin will be taking or selling or participating in the Goldback market very, 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 very soon. And I really like that.
There's one of the announcements.
And I like them a lot. And if you're watching, John, thank you for making the introduction to Jeremy. And if you're watching, Jeremy, you and your wife are awesome, and look forward to seeing you guys again real soon. So Goldback's on the horizon. Florida, they're launching very soon, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions we want to take before we're off like a prom dress? Okay. Let's do one more.
Okay.
I'll find it. I'll find one more. What? Where?
Do you think
Where? Oh,
there's going to be a force majeure this year?
Yeah, I just read that one.
I don't know, man. It's highly possible. They are draining the exchanges, and force majeure just basically means a cash settlement. It's written into the exchanges on COMEX. Could it happen? Yeah, why not?
Or it could be for the whole financial system as well, not just gold and silver.
Let me see. Come here. This is the newest addition to my family.
Oh yeah, there we go.
This is my new.
Should I go get my newest edition?
Yeah, go get your baby.
All right.
This
Hold
one
on.
is just the cutest little thing you've ever seen.
You think I should have a good time with Rudy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have brought Rudy. No, that's
You guys, thanks for hanging out for an hour and a half. I know you all are
Yeah.
happy to talk to Mario, and I'm happy Mario is here. I have tomorrow, I have Eric Young and Michael Oliver podcast. Mario and I are going to do an interview with Liberty and Finance tomorrow morning. And then I got those two, and then we're going to go play golf again. And then we're going to play golf on Thursday. And then Mario goes home. And then I go to Vancouver. So I won't be back next Tuesday, but we'll be back the following week to pick up where we left off.
All right. We're going to be joined by my daughter. Everyone say hi to Maggie. And this is Milo.
Hi, Maggie.
Hi, Milo. Hi, Munchkin.
you, baby.
Maggie, you got to duck down. You're too tall.
Comment if you think we look alike.
Who, me and you or the dog and you?
Either or.
You're much prettier, Maggie.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So tell us Milo and Mila.
Milo and Mila.
Yeah, they are a couple. They love each other. She looks fake, doesn't she?
Who, Maggie?
No. Mila.
Wow, heaven.
All right, you all.
All right.
God bless. God save the queen, right?
We will see you a week from tonight. Andy, we're on a week from tonight?
No,
Oh, no, you're going to be in Vancouver, right?
I'm going to be in Whistler a week from tonight. I will be home and ready to do it the following week.
We will touch
Oh,
base.
no, we won't, Kevin.
Are we going to be away?
Yeah, it's going to be
Hold on.
3 weeks.
Hold on. No, I think we will be. Hold on.
Week? I don't know.
Next
Maybe.
week is the 21st. That's the 28th, the week
Oh,
following.
yeah, we'll be here. Okay,
Yeah,
next
we'll be here.
2
The week
weeks.
following. Yes, Andy and I are actually going. We're meeting. We have I don't know how many family offices we're seeing that week, but we are going to be going to Aspen to a couple of family offices, and we will be potentially maybe doing it from Aspen.
Whoa, well, that is a very big potential, but it might be fun.
Right.
I'll do it if you'll get drunk with me once, because in 4 years you've gotten drunk with me 0 times.
you know, listen, I have responsibilities.
You have no
I
responsibility.
have this.
Honestly, now that I think about it, I think I've only seen him drunk like twice in my whole
Yeah,
life.
it's
I'm a
ridiculous.
very responsible young man.
Well, when you're in Aspen, it's like the 300
By the
mile.
way, is there any better designated driver?
No, that's why you're like a babysitter. Yes,
He
he's a
likes to
babysitter.
say that if you need alcohol to have fun, you're not around the right people.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't say that, Maggie. But we always do say, you know, me and the other three derelicts. Oh, Kevin will drive.
Of
That's
course.
good.
And by the way, I'll drive. Yeah.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
No,
Today
let's
was
talk
a
more,
lot of
Kevin. I
fun,
need a
Mario.
friend. I need a
enjoyed
friend.
hanging with you and
Oh,
watching you
okay.
play. And Andy, always a pleasure.
God
I will
bless.
speak to you
God
both
bless.
tomorrow. And I will see everybody in 2 weeks. Thank you for coming. Subscribe, like, and tell everyone about it. I will see you in 2 weeks.
Peace out.
Bye, bye.
Hi, Maggie.
Bye.
Bye.